Hi, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Mindly Wellbeing Weekly webinar. We talk about general anxiety, we talk about things that we don't feel like talking about. My name is Jeev Sahoo like Yahoo. I come from a business background and I do speak about mental health mainly because life happens to all of us. And it happened to me, and one of my main reasons I became a counselor is after I lost someone. I was grieving and I did not have much support around me to talk to someone without being judged. We all get judged in this world for hundreds of things, and it is still a topic with stigma to talk about mental well-being. And we also see situations where people talk too much about mental well-being, making it quite uncomfortable for the genuine cases where we really need to have a simple talk. Please note, this is not medical advice, and we do signpost people who want it to go to the local medical practitioners, local support people as well. And effectively, we focus on general anxiety for a variety of reasons. One, I went through it myself, so I exactly know what I'm talking about, and I have spoken with hundreds of clients on this topic. Secondly, general anxiety, especially when it is mild, we try to do DIY, do it yourself. You try to fix it by watching YouTube videos or things related to. We read books and we try to fix things ourselves. And many a times we definitely need um, someone else to soundboard, someone else to share this. It's a diminishing problem if we share it. Third reason is this is the one stage where the highest amount of prevention can be done. NHS has mentioned come back when things get worse. I mean, of course, they are busy with more serious situations. I get it. At the same time, this is the time where uh, we can do a huge amount of prevention, a huge amount of impact, and without being a burden on or seeking help where hospitals are busy. Like I said, this is not medical advice, this is just talking. So let's get started. You can see there is a link on the bottom right where you can ask me questions anonymously. And this is extremely important for our audiences, and I get hundreds of questions. Of course, I do get some spam because it is anonymous, but I do get hundreds of questions, and I answer these questions in a categorical way. All the recordings are available on YouTube so that you can go and find your answer. Now, today's discussion is about abandonment. And we got a lot of questions about abandonment, and this definitely becomes a big problem when we are feeling anxious. We have talked about our emotions wheel and emotions matrix and how we can change our perceptions and perspective, some practical steps. Many a times we don't even know that we are going through abandonment issues. And how does it relate to workplace? One of the biggest abandonment is related to losing a job. How is it? How is it? Apologies, I got some more questions coming in through the chat, so I'm making a note of it over here. In fact, I see some of the questions are. In fact, there is a comment over here. Well, thank you so much. I make a deliberate note that I keep names anonymous, which is why I'm not sharing any name here. And I can see that people are explaining how they faced abandonment issues at work. Yes, when you don't get what you are getting, there are triggers that happen, and things can go wrong. And losing job, losing a partner, losing a colleague could be abandonment. Now, at the same time, without losing them completely, trust issues come in. There is a difference between mistrust and distrust. and things can come in, and we go into a state where we are constantly thinking about situations, ruminating, overthinking, overwhelm, and burnout starts coming in. We may not even know that this is related to abandonment. So let's get into understanding how it shows in daily life, and what can we do about it. I'll give you some frameworks to deal with it as usual. Okay. So how does it look like to people in general? When you are being away from someone, in fact, speaking of work, some people work a lot because they cannot be separated from work. But in this case, I'm talking about being separated from people, loved ones, friends, and this goes in two different directions. Sometimes people are very happy to be away from the person who is giving them that anxiety, but at the same time they want to be next to them as well. So it's quite confusing. There is a people pleasing personality that comes aiming to please. Both overcommitment and undercommitment can happen, and there are statistics that show whether men are good at one or not, but um, practically, and including my experience as well, I have seen an equal side of things. It depends on the person's childhood. So it's not that men undercommit and women overcommit or the other way around. It can be any which way. So things can be quite confusing even for that situation. People who did have abandonment issues when they were younger, as children and so forth, have developed a sense of insecurity, and not feeling worth. Even they try to be at the top of their class, or at the top of their school, best in the at work, best in the relationship, again people pleasing side of things, because there is a gap to fill, and it is never full. So, and we did talk about the lizard brain, reptile brain, and the human brain in one of the other calls. Insecurity directly relates to um, your existence. People feel I won't exist if I don't do this, and that's like living next to uh, a dangerous lion right next to you, and constantly feeling that even if the lion is not present, by the way. um, People, we feel very sensitive to criticism when we did have abandonment issues, and these are oversensitive, over defending kind of situations where even a praise could be taken in the wrong way. So that is extremely important to understand, that this is not actually related to criticism. This is something else that is happening in the background. But uh, you can start detecting this, or at least understanding if somebody is overly sensitive to criticism, especially if that someone is we ourselves. In fact, it's self-reflection that is helping us. Mistrust and distrust are extremely key in here. um, One key thing I want to explain here is trust in your own self is also missing, and that is very important to understand. But when we talk about our personal cheerleader and personal critic, it's very easy to criticize our own self. But when we say, can you trust your own self, it takes time. We want someone else to trust us before we trust ourselves, and this is also taken to um, when to others, when we deal with others, because people cannot trust someone else, and they trust as long as things are going great. After that, the smallest of criticism, the smallest of insecurity, the smallest of something happening can start creating mistrust and distrust. And of course, there are codependency attitudes coming in. That codependency, again, please remember, it can be to a substance, it can be to a person, it can be to a situation. People can work a lot, people can be with someone a lot, people are and the other person could be the enabler, or the situation would be the enabler, because um, they are getting a sense of safety in that situation, even if it is not helping them, but it is stemming from abandonment issues. Speaking of these kind of things, you can see that this is all related to how someone relates to someone else, and in psychology we talk about attachment styles. Let me see if I can explain this in simple terms, and there are four different attachment styles that we will look at depending on what has happened in our past. The secure attachment style. In this case, a child has had a caregiver. It could be a parent, it could be a teacher, it could be a nurse, it could be someone to trust. And the child is very safe, and as they grow up, they feel safety in the rest of the world as well. And this is a key thing, because if we feel safe as a child, we feel safe as an adult. If we feel safe as an adult, then we did have some situations that helped us feel safe as a child. It's a secure way of things. If someone goes away, the child is not feeling as if the world is coming to an end. They don't want physical attachment. They don't want somebody next to them, or constant texting, or constantly being there for someone. In one way, shape, or form, uh, it's not needed. It's there. So, and these kind of people can become caretakers of other people as well, as long as they are not going towards being a martyr for someone. So the secure attachment style also is seen where they don't overly try to do something to please someone, or they don't sacrifice themselves. They're okay in their own existence. Now comes the anxious type. We start feeling worried if someone has not replied, someone is not next to us, or someone has not helped us, and someone has not responded or interacted in some way. And it's crazy that these things still happen as we become adults, and it could be something non-personal, like waiting for a letter from the government, or very personal, like waiting for a reply from a loved one in the family, or not being next to someone. Now, what has happened, again, I'm speaking in a very generic term. The caregivers who were there with us as when we were children, whether they were parents or teachers or others, they held back, or they used the safety as some kind of mechanism to reward us or make us feel safe. When things were great, they were with us. They left us at times without realizing, maybe, that the child was needing some kind of safety. And the child was constantly waiting, and the child felt that if I am a good boy or a good girl, if I do everything right, if I am on the best of the class, or if I behave well, then things are fine, and my caregiver will not go away, mom, dad, anyone else. And they started comparing someone being there with the behaving well and so forth, and that created that anxiety over there. This has also led it at situations to the avoidant kind of attachment style, where the caregiver crossed the line into the reward mechanism, where if you do this, you are safe. If you don't do this, you are not safe, and it could go into verbal abuse or physical abuse or something. And the child thinks that as long as I'm in this line, I'm fine. When things go wrong, I'm not fine. So what happens is they don't become too close to anyone, because if they lose that one person, they feel extremely anxious. They go back to the anxious stage, and which is why they keep a line. They are not physically close, they are not emotionally close. They might love someone, they don't say it, they don't express it, and even if they express it, they think, oh, am I being judged for expressing this? and they do follow psychology to some extent, and they say, I don't want to be an over pleaser, or I don't want to be a pleaser at all. It's quite confusing and overwhelming in this situation. Again, like I mentioned, I will share some techniques in order to get out of it. But it's very confusing to the other person as well, because they don't know that this person has an avoidant attachment style. They think this person keeps on flipping between different states. Sometimes they're close and sometimes they are not. And when things are going great, they might feel anxious. When things are not going great, they can feel anxious for a different reason. Now comes the disorganized, fearful, avoidant kind of thing. Now, if you combine anxious and avoidant together and notch it up a bit more, that becomes disorganized. And children at this stage, and including adults, they try to be random. They think that if uh, uh, they're quite scared of being away from their caregiver and loved ones in life. At the same time, they really are worried that if they start doing things, they will be judged as being too obedient or being too distant, and they are very difficult to predict. In Unfortunately, they are also difficult to predict for their own selves, which makes life even worse, both for people near them as well as themselves. And these are the things that are creating conflicts in our lives. I'll give some more examples as we progress. Now, I did go into the causes over here, but if we had to categorize some bigger reasons why these things have happened, one simple cause, like I mentioned, was related to caregivers using attachment style. But life happens, and caregivers don't always go away from us because they want to, or because they have some kind of personality, whether it is narcissism or selfishness, or people have to go to work and leave the child at home, those kind of situations. But things can happen like trauma. Now, trauma is caused like simple situations where a child is locked in a room by himself or herself for whatever reason, or left out in a school trip, or I mean, we did have someone where the child was with the family and the family forgot them and had to come back, and for some time child was totally lost, and so forth. Trauma can be of so many kinds, and many a times what the child is considering as trauma is not even clear to the grown-ups, the so-called grown-ups nearby. This could be repeated using childhood abuse, both physical, mental, and other kinds as well. And we do talk with people where, um, again, performing in an examination, a school exam, and so forth, was a criteria to be in the good books, and if that performance was not there, then they were locked out or not allowed to play, go with their friends, not have a social life. Some people have, let's say, a face condition, skin condition, or a speaking condition, or something of that kind, or anything else that made them socially extremely um, uh, sensitive, and that slowly turned into abuse or a very, very bad experience, and that creates abandonment anxiety. um, we did have someone who, unfortunately, at a very, very young age, uh, faced death of family members, loved ones. We all have life happening around us, and in that particular case, it was an unnatural death, and these things, people don't have answers, and even if they have answers, when the grown-ups are dealing with things, the children might be left without answers for a while, and uh, this can create abandonment anxiety. This relates to even couples or families separating, and many times, even though I did mention divorce over here, but it could be related to even grandparents separating from the core family, any loved one, caregiver being separated for any kind of reason. In fact, there was a situation where a caregiver was accused of something and was fired, and but the child did not understand what happened in the situation, and this causes abandonment anxiety. And we do have loss of people, but loss can come in other forms as well. And these kind of things uh, uh, showcase where, again, without naming names, we spoke with someone whose family had to move because of loss of money, and the child had to move schools, and there is abandonment there, and the child did not process it completely, and the grown-ups did not say it completely or explain it completely why they had to lose all their friends, go to a completely different place, and so abandonment anxiety starts developing. And all of this, I mean, when we don't process it, when we don't talk about it, unmet social and emotional needs, it's quite tough on children and grown-ups equally. And I wish we spoke a bit more about these kind of things in society, but these days we are coming up and opening up. However, many of us did not have these answers or social support, emotional support, and these cause abandonment. How do we fix this? How do we recover from this? And I'll connect it with some of the frameworks that we use in Mindly. As many of these frameworks, I have only 2 or 3 of them in this particular video, but we have more than 10 such frameworks available. But let's go a little deeper into how can we recover from this and how can we feel better. That's the key. Okay, take charge of my recovery. And I've chosen the words carefully because many times people say, you are responsible, you are in charge, you have to do things. And for someone going through abandonment anxiety, someone feeling weak, it may not help. And it can be interpreted as, okay, I am to blame. And it's not helpful at all. Hence, I'm saying that be in charge, and we will see the purpose control service framework in a moment. Our brain actually does something when it feels that we are in charge, which is why many times people might be feeling down, but if they clean the house or make a sandwich or go for a long drive, peaceful drive, they feel in charge. The brain is actually releasing certain chemicals that are making you feel better. You are in charge, you have clarity, you have structure. And as you do that with purpose. I'll show you that screen in a moment where we will look at purpose, control, and service or value. But you are being your own parent once more. You are reparenting yourself. In a way, you are rebirthing yourself in your mind. And one way is to look at things like you are being your own parent, or you are being your own best friend, which we will see in the personal cheerleader framework, which is an opposite of the pathological critic. We keep criticizing ourselves. So the last framework we will see is, are we really looking at the true feelings that we have? And what do we mean with that? What I'm feeling, is it really my feeling? And you'll be surprised at the answers that will come in that particular slide. Now, it's not that the feeling that you have is false, but it could be perceived in a different way. Okay, let's see how it is with that particular example. Personal critic versus personal cheerleader. I do this exercise about having a PC in our mind. PC stands in psychology is pathological critic, and I call it personal critic in plain English. That's the voice that we have in our head whenever we do something. It says, do you really want to do that? And do you know what happened last time? You want a new friendship, you want to join a network, you want to do a new exercise, or you want to put on a new dress, and it makes you feel embarrassed. It keeps a list of things that went wrong in the past. But the good news is it's not our voice. It's the combination of all the voices that disapproved us in the past, Originally, it was meant for safeguarding us. Don't cross the road, do this in right way. But as we grew, it became a big critic in our mind. And like a best friend, we have to convert this critic to our cheerleader. Well, especially because this is the Tuesday free webinar where I'm trying to answer the questions related to abandonment issues. I'm not going deeper into the exercise of find my best friend, and I'm rushing through some of these techniques and very happy to explain these techniques in a more relaxed way in some of our workshops if you choose to attend. But the key thing is you are your own first best friend, and you are your own first cheerleader. And instead of keeping a gallery of all the mistakes, you keep a gallery of all the good things, even the smallest of things that are happening. We'll start writing. You can take a screenshot of the purpose, control, value framework and start writing things down. What have I done just this morning or just yesterday afternoon that gave me something I could cheer myself or I could pat myself? And we think that, oh, it's not a big deal. I mean, when we do something nice, it's not a big deal, but when we do something not nice, we spend a lot of energy and time criticizing ourselves, and that is quite that's completely unfair that we are doing for ourselves while waiting for the world to be fair. We are the first person being unfair to ourselves. So keep being your own cheerleader. So when you think about abandonment issues or abandonment anxiety, well, first of all, you don't think about this while feeling anxious. I mean, we are analyzing this right now, but when you feel anxious, it feels anxious. When you feel scared, it feels scared. When you feel panicking, it feels panicking. Bring in your cheerleader. Start thinking, what can I do next to pat myself? What have I done right in the last few hours? And that will start slowing down your critic, and it will bring back the human brain instead of the monkey brain panicking or the lizard brain panicking. Okay. Next step, make a list, make a small inventory of small things in life that are giving us a sense of purpose, sense of control, and sense of service or value. The reason I'm saying sense of purpose, control, and service or value is literally physically in your brain, something is happening at that moment which will bring some structure and strength back to you. You start cheering yourself, you start feeling strong about your own achievements instead of feeling anxious about, hey, will I lose this job, or will I lose this opportunity, will I lose this friendship, why did I say that, now this guy is not going to talk to me again, or that girl is not going to talk to me again, or my boss is going to be upset. We don't need to go through that at all. Now start writing small purposes of life instead of fixing the large purposes of life. Like if you want to become a marathoner or a great dad or a great parent or something, those are larger purposes of life. But if you did something nice for your kid or for your friend or for your boss or for your colleague or just for yourself, start writing down. Even things like, I slept well for 7 hours and woke up on time to be at work, is something that we ignore, but it's a good thing you did for yourself. So think about it that way. In work life, what has happened? Organizing things has given you purpose, or training someone gave you purpose. It was not part of your job, but you went the extra mile. And elsewhere, I mean, people ask about, with other than personal life, work life, what is elsewhere? I mean, you could be helping out in a football club, helping out a charity, doing something which is beyond personal and work as well. So think about it that way, and start making this small inventory, because when you feel anxious or fearful or scared, etc., this inventory will help you out. This inventory will remind you, inventory will start cheering you, hey, how great you are. Even though you think life looks like screwed up, it's not yet. While you do this thing, you get some sense of control. When I'm saying control, it's not about controlling others, it's about being in charge of doing something. Like somebody said, just cleaning the place, it's a mundane task, but it engages the mind, but you are in charge. That part many psychologists forget to say. In movies you might see that, okay, people may make fun of people cleaning the room or tidying up or creating going for a drive or something of that kind to feel better. Is it really scientific? Effectively, you are in charge of something that you are doing. Think about it that way. And it could be drawing, it could be teaching, it could be singing. I mean, nobody controls your voice when you are singing. You control your voice. And if singing is something you love, you will love it. If drawing is something you love, you will come back to your own version of normalcy. If driving is something you love, you'll come back to normalcy. If cleaning is something you love, you'll come back to normalcy. If cleaning is something you don't love but you have to clean, choose something that you love and you engage yourself. Try sketching instead, and you will see there is a difference. I mean, just engaging your mind in a mundane activity just because you saw in some YouTube video doesn't help. If it engages your body, mind, and intellect, then you'll see how quickly your brain will bring back a sense of calmness, clarity, and confidence. Which is where I bring in, it has to be something you love, which is what I mentioned about service and value at the last part. If I'm dropping my kid to school, I'm feeling good about that. That's enough. And that has given me some meaning in life. And that inventory has really helped to feel better, to bring back my sense of courage and confidence. If it is something I really don't value it, let's say I was given a mundane task with a purpose of cleaning something or fixing the garage or something like that, but I don't see value in that, I won't come back to my version of normalcy, or my anxiety will not feel better, or my fear will not feel better. So think of something that creates value, and take a screenshot, pause the video, make these things that will help you. When things go wrong, you know where to come back to, so that your human mind or human brain can switch on and start doing things to bring you back out of that anxiety or fear. Your monkey brain will not catastrophize it. Your lizard brain will not really freeze you or scare you. Okay. Now, the fun experiment. Again, these are things that I'm rushing through mainly because of the free webinar side of things, but many a times we can spend a whole morning doing these exercises, and people have aha moments in a group. And you could pause the video and do these exercises, put down your comments on what were the aha moments. When I ask people, what are you feeling, they say some basic emotions, and most people go is 10 or 12 emotions, and some of the key ones I hear are, I am feeling angry, or I'm feeling bad, or I'm feeling happy, or I'm feeling sad. In fact, someone pointed out, hey Jeev, why is the bad quadrant or segment so thinner compared to happy? And there is a reason, you will see. Many times psychologists or coaches will tell you to switch your perception and blah blah blah, and it feels very theoretical and impractical. But if you ask the question to yourself in a fun way, saying, were you feeling fearful, or was it this? Look at that. See, the word fearful has now gone into scared, anxious, insecure, rejected, threatened, weak. You could be feeling physically weak or mentally insecure, etc., which all could be dragged as fear and frustration. Is it that? No, maybe it could be something deeper. So instead of being, like a formula, you're just taking a step back, saying, I was not really feeling bad, I was just feeling bored that day. I was not just feeling happy, I was feeling content. Because content and optimistic are two different things. You can say both are happy, well, it could be different. You could be feeling hurt, or you could be feeling lonely, and you could deal with these two different situations completely differently, right? And slowly your human brain is coming in instead of the monkey brain, and slowly your anxiety and panic is coming down and down because you're coming down. Now look at this one. Was it fear, or were you feeling anxious, or was it more of a overwhelm? Because overwhelm is different from worry, or feeling rejected is different from feeling threatened. And depending whether it is a workplace or whether it is a family kind of situation, a different kind of solution can help you. Sometimes a company website can help you. Sometimes having a talk with someone can help you. Feeling happy, if you see, feeling thankful as well as feeling cheeky, feeling successful or confident, they're all happy thoughts, but they're all different. And this is where your inventory is bringing you back, saying, hey, you know what, you are feeling fearful, but in more of a scared thing, it was more like a rejection. So why don't we do a talk with someone in office, or talk with the person I felt rejected with. And with between rejection, there are two kinds. Maybe nobody called me to the office party or something, I felt excluded, compared to, like, somebody's trying to punish me or expose me or something like that. So those kind of things are different, and automatically we have changed our perception. It might feel very complicated. If you make a game out of it, you will see it's very easy. And next time you are feeling something, you'll just take a hop back, saying, hey, is it really this feeling? This is what I meant by false feeling. What I meant is, what's the real perception? Is it really this feeling, or is it something more? And then you start taking a step back and a step back. And as you do this step back, automatically you're starting to get control and purpose and feeling better. And you don't need to try to apply any of these techniques or something like that. And how do you do this? By being your best friend, because that's what a best friend does. I mean, the best friend is not always there to keep praising you. The best friend is also there to tell you where you went wrong, but in a good way. You don't feel bad about it, and you are okay to listen to that. And these kind of exercises, if I'm coming back, you feel in charge of your own recovery. You don't wait for someone else to be with you to feel good. In fact, an exercise I have done in the past is try to be by yourself for a while, without trying to please anybody, without trying to please yourself, without trying to feel anxious. I totally forgot to mention, abandonment can be related to money as well. And you are feeling abandoned. Even if you have money, if money is not constantly flowing in, or money is not constantly next to you, you might feel something completely, as if your caregiver is gone, as if you don't exist anymore, as if there is no more worth. But as soon as somebody checks, oh yeah, this is happening, you feel better because money is flowing in, or the person has come back in, as if a caregiver has come back. So think of money is a big factor. I wish I had mentioned this at the beginning, but good that I remembered over here. So reparent yourself, have purpose, uh, take care of yourself as your best friend, or as your own child. You are the parent of your own self, let's put it that way. And this gives you back purpose, control, and value. Use the emotions wheel framework. It's available for free online, and you can always ask questions to us back again, if you feel. So what do you feel when things go through anxiety or fear? Is overwhelm, burnout, emotional breakdowns, worried about things you have no control about, like economy and money and so forth. Dealing with uncertainty. Uncertainty can be of so many kinds, so think about it. So if you see that, contact us, or contact a friend, or contact your local GP, or contact your local counselor, local coach, a friend. Talk to somebody. It becomes a diminishing problem once you start sharing with family members, sharing with people you love. And you will see that what you were thinking was not really what you were thinking. Again, that's the reason I mentioned about false emotions. Take a step back, try to see, and you will see you are coming so much into a state of fulfillment and content and confidence, that after that, this becomes a state of clarity, state of mental well-being, state of emotional well-being. So try these techniques out, and please put your comments in. If you haven't subscribed to our channel, please do subscribe, and it does something to the algorithm that Gives this video to other people who need it, as well as you can please share it on social media, and put your social handle in the comments as well when you share. Thank you so much for listening. I'm literally going through some of the other questions that I had. In fact, the question about money was from an anonymous question that was put in, so hope that helps. You can book a meeting with us, completely complimentary and non-obligatory, so that you can talk to someone in a safe manner and see how to take charge of your own emotional wellness. It's all about emotions to start with. If you have seen some of our previous videos, you see emotions is at the center of social well-being, individual, monetary, physical, love life. Emotional well-being starts at the healing towards mental well-being. So keep taking care, and you are your first priority. Thank you so much for listening in, and see you next week.